Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Esoteric and a continuing series, Model Museum, where I review every single Sega Model 1, Model 2, and Model 3 game in a retrospective fashion, so long as it's not an arcade racing game, because I did that last year. And today we're taking a look at my favorite Model 3 games of all time, the Ocean Hunter, released in 1998 and running on the Model 3 Step 2.1 hardware revision, making it the most powerful Model 3 that Sega ever made. The Ocean Hunter is basically a light gun game a la the House of the Dead, except it takes place completely underwater and it has an aquatic monster theme going on. It's a beautiful game to look at and it's an amazing game to play. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But tell me so far, which has been your favorite Model 3 game you've ever played, because I would be curious. Getting right into the Ocean Hunter, you can see the complete difference compared to everything else that Sega's done in the light gun genre. Stuff like Gunblade New York or LA Machine Guns. Awesome games that definitely have an action movie vibe to them. House of the Dead has that horror element. The Ocean Hunter is basically the House of the Dead underwater, and it 100% works. Now the thing about being underwater is everything moves slower because there is water, and this game takes that and runs with it. There's going to be less enemies, and there's going to be less intense shooting, but you really have to plan from where they're coming from, because you will see those bullets there are not instantaneous. They do travel into the screen, and they do take time to reach their target, so you really need to be worrying about leading what's going on here. If you point at something and you pull the trigger, it doesn't automatically guarantee you a hit like it does in the House of the Dead. You really need to be mindful of what's going on. And of course, because this is Model 3, we're playing it on the Super Model emulator, and we're running it in widescreen. And this game still looks, I think, as good as the day it came out, slightly better in spots. You will see sometimes I get these black bars because on a 4:3 aspect ratio, Sega put in letterboxing to make it look widescreen for a moment, and those do appear when you're playing it in 16:9, but honestly it's just in cutscenes and does not matter whatsoever. But a lot of what the Ocean Hunter is one big boss rush. Sure, there's going to be enemies on the way to the bosses, but the bosses are the start of the show here. And this giant squid, the Kraken with his tentacles coming towards you, it is such a fun gameplay mechanic. You just have to swat them back. And only when you get to the second or third phase in a particular boss will you actually get that reticle underneath the target area that you need to shoot to take them down. All of the boss fights in this game are amazing. They're all against gigantic aquatic creatures, some from kind of like the Cthulhu mythos, some just basically from antiquity, but it all just 100% works. And I will say that compared to something like the House of the Dead or even the House of the Dead 2, I do find this game way more difficult. I really like that about it. You are going to have the same rescue the hostages situations, except in this instance the hostage is a diver and his attackers are going to be great white sharks. Basically, just like every other light gun game, save the victim and you're going to get a life up. There really isn't any other weapons to obtain in the Ocean Hunter. Unlike other light gun games, you have this basically harpoon rocket gun and you're going to be using it the entire time. But again, I just can't stress how gorgeous of a game this really is. It's using those same vibrant Sega colors that they've loved to use on Model 2 and especially Model 3. And I think the game visually really holds up well because of that. But even these models here, this giant megalodon shark coming down, there's so many polygons on him for the time and place. This still looks like a really effective model. Of course, it's not going to stand up to something like the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X today, but this looked better than anything on the home market, and still looks a lot better than a lot of what the PlayStation 2 or even Dreamcast could do. Some people may disagree in the comments below, but I think that Model 3 looked even better than the best of what the PlayStation 2 could do. And again, the character designs, all of these teeth coming at you, all of them being individually modeled, it just looks incredible. And it is such a spectacle too, as that gigantic jagged mouth comes towards you. As you take more damage off the Leviathan, it's going to become harder, and in between phases, you're going to throw those great whites at you. Boss fights basically last 2 to 3 minutes in this game depending on how well you're playing them, and it's what you're here for, because like I said, you do need to kill some creatures on your way to a boss fight, but the boss fights are what make this game extra rewarding. And you'll see that in between each level we do get a little bit of information about where we're going and what the monster that we're hunting is and how much of a bonus you get for defeating him. Every monster has a bonus on his head, and we are here to collect them. But the other thing this game has in spades is an incredible soundtrack. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back and tell you more about the history of the game and why I love it so much. But enjoy! Just another classic soundtrack from Sega that 100% works within the game, but of course some of it's going to be drowned out by the gunshot sound effects, or in this case the harpoon sound effects. But taking a look at this boss design here, it basically looks like something that was borrowed out of Jurassic Park, a game we've either already shown on the channel for this retrospective, will be soon because it is also a Model 3 game. And for the first and basically only time in the game, you actually jump out of the water and finish the boss fight on land. But as you get further into this game, the difficulty ramps up substantially. This is not an easy game, but it is a challenging and fair game. If you don't hit your target, it's because you didn't aim correctly versus the game being cheap. I would say that unlike other like-gun games, this really doesn't bait you into doing the wrong thing. It just makes it very challenging to do the right thing. But as we take a look at this giant squid here as well, I love all the designs, and as you shoot more, it's going to go from purple to green the same way that squids in real life can basically change their color. It is such a fun look when you're going down into the dark depths here of the ocean. It really does sell a time and a place and an overall vibe that this really does take place underwater. And I love how all the characters move as well. It really does seem to be that they're suspended in a fluid. All of the animators and the riggers for this game did an outstanding job. But the game definitely has some moments of intensity and other moments of almost relaxation, because shooting these small jellyfish right here, sure, if you're not paying complete attention you're going to take some damage, but for the most part it is just more of a laid back, relaxed area in the game. And I do like that it ramps up and down. You get to a big boss fight, you get to a mid boss, something like Medusa here. It is difficult, but it's not super intense. But when you get further into each level, that's when everything starts happening. So the game has a really nice kind of pacing and trajectory to it that 100% works in what Sega is trying to do. But I just keep coming back to how different this game really is. Stuff like Virtua Cop and Virtua Cop 2 make total sense. The House of the Dead, Ellie Machine Guns, Gunblade New York, those really do have that sort of Sega vibe going on. The Ocean Hunter 100% has that same Sega vibe, but this feels like the start of something different. Recently I did a video on Let's Go Jungle and Let's Go Island, and those games feel like they came whole cloth from the Ocean Hunter. This seems like Sega keyed into something different that they wanted to do, and this is the first game they tried it on. But this gigantic crab here as well, all of the character designs look fundamentally like the creatures they are. Sure, some of the bosses are going to be 100% made up from kind of legend, but a lot of the other bosses are basically just going to be gigantic versions of something you might see on your dinner plate at home. Well, I'm pretty sure most people aren't eating king crab every night, usually a special occasion disc. But tell me down below if you even eat seafood, I would be curious. Just kind of like to talk about fish in this one. What else can I do? What you will see here as we move further onto the game, the boss battles are so unique. We get fully swallowed up into this gigantic monster down here, and as we get into the belly, you're going to see the mid-boss that we just fought being ripped apart by different sort of animals inside of the stomach. All of these parasitic inhabitants are just eating the flesh off what this fish just ate. And it's really fun. Every like-gun game has something that clings to the screen, and this one is like a parasitic lamprey. But this dude has been eating full ships, and I love the design of this particular level. You get to go inside and just get a sense and scale of how colossal the creature you were just swallowed up was. And you go all the way into his chest until you can start knocking this plaque away from his heart and shooting him until he dies. It's completely different than every other boss fight in the game because you've seen a lot of aquatic monsters up until this point in time. It 100% is a fun change of pace. But I'm going to give you one more taste of the soundtrack because I absolutely love it. I'll come back, tell you more about the game and why I love it so much. Enjoy!
Black Dragon.
It's just a great soundtrack, and I'm going to say it right here and right now. Apparently Sega could do good voice acting. This is the first game in which I'm giving the voice actor a 10 out of 10 for his lines. The accent when they say the boss encounter's name just 100% works for the vibe of the game. So apparently Sega could do good voice acting if they wanted to, and they just never did want to. But as we get through these two small, almost look like fighting beta fish, except they're way longer, we're going to get to the final boss in the game. And I'm going to say this is the best final boss Sega's ever ever made in an arcade game. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what your favorite is, but I think the final boss, the Ocean Hunter, is the best stuff Sega has ever made, because it is not one boss, it's not two bosses, it's three bosses, and he changes his form every single time. This is like a 5-minute boss fight, and it ends the game on such a high note. It's just more spectacle in a game that's already been over the top, showing you basically everything it could. Dagon here basically just crawls along the ground and tries to swat you with his hands, but it is absolutely creepy seeing those sunken blue eyes turn to red when he's going to attack. It does a good job of telegraphing it, and then as you get into further stages, he takes to his feet and becomes Poseidon, shooting out these projectiles towards you. They go in all sorts of different directions, and you do need to manage your shots. Now you do have 2 shot buttons. One, if you just rapidly tap on, it will continue to shoot as many projectiles as you can. If you hold them both down at the same time, you can shoot 5 faster, but it does take a little bit of a recharge, so you do need to manage that kind of skill. Gotta hit Poseidon in the elbow here, must be his weak spot, maybe that's legend, I don't know, leave me a comment down below and you tell me. But once you get through the Poseidon stage, the best variant of this boss comes out and you will see it shortly. But again, this is just such a long boss fight with such an incredibly designed creature. This is maybe some of the best effort that Sega ever put into an arcade game, in my opinion. And when the final form comes out, this is just downright creepy. If you were in the ocean and you saw this coming towards you, you'd probably die of a heart attack before you even had a chance to get swallowed whole. But that's the Ocean Hunter. Relatively rare cabinet. If you see it, throw some quarters in it. And if you do know where there is one, leave me a comment down below and tell me. I haven't seen one in a long time. Short of that, straight 10 out of 10 game, must play, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.